Okay, so we'll summarize quickly what we've done so far, and then we're ready to move on. So we're talking, it's the Hakdama to Perek Chelek, Rambam's introduction to Chelek, the Mishnah, which in Sanhedrin, which teaches about who gets on Rabbah and who doesn't. And he starts off by going through the different opinions that he finds among the nation as to what reward and punishment is. And he brings four different groups, five if you see it as the combination of all the other ones put together. And the common denominator really is that we're dealing with very physical conceptions of reward and punishments. Nice food to eat, nice clothes, flowing rivers, living eternally, to resurrection of the dead, people together with a family, and very physical forms of punishment also. Gehenna, the fiery furnaces. And he ends up saying, well, what about actual Olam Haba, the world to come? What do we think of that? So we're going to see that Rambam has that as being a spiritual idea, a spiritual form of reward and punishment. And he says, well, why do people not even come on to question this? People go into all detailed sorts of questions about whether people will be resurrected with their clothes, without their clothes, which sort of clothes, the details of what sort of foods and how things will grow, all the sort of details about physical pleasures and lack of pleasures, but no one actually gets into the spiritual pleasures. Why is that? So he goes in. So what he develops now is the idea that people don't really have a grasp, and they don't really value within their religious life spiritual and any non-physical pleasures and rewards. And he goes to the model of what are the typical, even when you're dealing with something like a Rav, what is the typical path through life? Well, he starts off as a kid, as a 5, 6 year old, being bribed by his Rav to read Alphabet, to read Chumash, and as he grows up, the bribes become bigger and bigger. The point of the Rambam is that this kid, unless he makes a particular effort to, will always be thinking of the Torah as a means to achieving something else, whether it means to get the candy that the teacher's holding out, or to get the monetary reward for sitting there learning on the time when he's off school, or as he gets older and becomes a Rav, it's a means of getting honor, a good position, people to stand up for him. And he's saying all of this is that all these people are using the Torah, using the ultimate spiritual beauty and things they should be building their life for as a means for achieving something worldly. And he says, Kol zeh meguneh, that's how he finishes up, that's how we finished last week. All of this is despicable. This is all building up for his explanation as to why people are so focused on physical rewards and punishments and not spiritual. Because, as he sees, most people, even people who are building their life around Torah and mitzvot, they relate to them very superficially. They don't relate to Torah and mitzvot as emet, as a spiritual reality through which they're connecting to Hashem and the source of truth. They relate to it very much as very, very typically as things through which they can achieve things in this world. As you pointed out last week, Joel, there has to be some lishmah. As we see, even Chazal talk about that one must engage in Torah mitzvot shelo lishmah, not for the ultimate truth and reason, because b'toch shelo lishmah ba lishmah. This is what he's going to look at now. Through engaging with Torah mitzvot, not for the ultimate pure motive, you'll eventually come, hopefully, to relate to God, relate to Him, to Torah mitzvot for a pure motive, a pure reason. But before we get to discuss that, he's going to develop more the idea of lo lishma and exactly what the problem of it is. So, omnam yitzarech lemiyat seichel adam, it's required for the lack of great understanding the person has. Sheyasim tachles hachachma, davar acher zu lasiya chachma. Do we have to have some kind of sweetener? Most people are not able to just say, I'm doing Torah mitzvot just for the sake of connecting with God. I have no other motive, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care that for the kollel check, whatever it is. All I'm thinking of is all day is the pure connection to God. People aren't like that. Again, people can develop themselves to become that, but that's not where people start off with. So this is not the MS, but it is a way of getting to that. This sort of limit, which people are saying, I want to learn something, I want to do mitzvot, I want to daven along Shmuel, people look at me and, again, maybe not your total motivation, but people look at it and say, well, wow, he's davening well. People look at it in the sort of sukkah he's building. Again, there's an element of doing it in lishmah, but there's an element of lo lishmah also. But what is lo lishmah? Kalam sheyasa mitzvot v'yilmad v'yishtatel b'torah lo lo'isa davar ba'atzmai ela b'shvil davar acher. Lo lishmah is basically defined as engaging, indulging in Torah and mitzvot, not for the sake of it itself, but for something else. That's what he's going to get into. Or he's going to explain it in a minute. Let's hold on. His hero Chachamim al zeh. So Chachamim warn against this. Va'omru al tasem atara leisgadel bahem. Do not make the Torah and the mitzvot a crown through which to aggrandize oneself. Don't make it into something that you put on your head. Wow, look at this great person. But like karadom lachbar bahem, nor should it be I think it's an axe or a spade. As a spade, I think, through which to dig. Don't use the Torah as a means to achieve something else. V'hem romzem lama shebarati lach she'en lasum tachlis hachachma lo lekabel kavod b'nei adam lo leharviach mamon. You shouldn't be using tachlis. Torah is the ultimate wisdom and truth, and that the greatest thing we can aspire to internalize and be engaged with. Don't use that as a means for something else. So very often, I think people normally look at this Mishnah and think, well, you shouldn't have. It's wrong to have benefit from Torah. Torah is something which is holy, in the same way as there are the rules of, say, what's called Me'ilah in the Beis Hamikdash. You don't use something in the Beis Hamikdash for your own benefit, so don't use Torah for your own benefit. The Rambam's taking this further here. He's saying that you shouldn't take the Torah and use it as a means to achieve something else, because that is implying that something else is really more important than the Torah. You're using the Torah as a spade to dig to achieve what you really want. It's like, God forbid, putting a Torah scroll on the ground and using it to climb up on a shelf to get something you need. It's not only is it disrespectful, but it's implying that there's something which is a greater goal. You're using the Torah to achieve that greater goal. Using it as a spade to dig and to reach something else. Not as a means of so that's really the first one. The atara leisgadel bahem, the crown to aggrandize yourself to achieve kavod from other people. Not to use it as a tool to earn money. And the Rambam is actually very strict when it came to this. In his halachas and Mishnah Torah, there are halachas that you're not supposed to use Torah as a way of earning money, and there's such halacha in the Gemara, and there are various Rishonim that discuss exceptions and how strict this is applied, whether you're allowed to be compensated for a lack of earning. There are various, there are many, as we know today, there are many loopholes and various conditions that apply to this, but the Rambam applies it very strictly. Rav Kapach, I think, has his shul nearby in Nachlaot. He very famously, when he came over from Yemen, he had very little money, and he did the Rabbanut Samicha, and he had to take a stipend just while he was doing the Samicha. He kept a record of all the money he was given, and later in life, I think he had when he wrote books and sold them, he also had some sort of engraving business. He ended up paying all the money back to the Rabbanut because as a Taimani, he was very, very strict both halacha and hashkafa like the Rambam, and he's how can I use the samicha as a way of earning money? So it's just because we consider it as an extreme example, but it's the Rambam through and through.
I learned about it. I think it's Kesef Mishnah. It's like this makes us
right.
I think he already says like the minhag of most of truth is not like that. Like,
right. No, they're definitely. I think everyone agrees that the halacha exists in some form or another, but just the loopholes become so great that in effect you basically don't have the halacha anymore. For example, there's an idea that you can be compensated for. I think it's like with the Dayan for judging. A Dayan's not allowed to charge for judging, but if he could have been earning money in that time, he could be compensated for the the money you could have earned.
Right.
Same thing with Shlomo Aveda, by the way. When you find a lost item in the street and you're heading off to your job, you're to your top lawyer and you could be earning how many billing thousands of dollars an hour, and you find like some sort of fruit in the street, some small item, but you got a mitzvah to go and give it back. You can't be paid for your time, but you can be paid for your lack of earnings. So sometimes your lack of earnings is worth more than the object itself, and then you're not supposed to go and give it back. But the same sort of idea. So people say, well, teaching Torah, you can be compensated for your lack of earnings. So there's that loophole, there's other loopholes. But yeah, that's but Rambam's very strict on this, and he applies it here in his Hashkafa books also. Not just you're not supposed to have benefits from the Torah, which is how most people view it. It's a chil Hashem basically, because by using your Torah teaching, Torah learning to earn money, you're saying my goal is to earn money, and I'm using the Torah as a tool to dig to get me there. It's see how he's presenting it.
It's maybe you could also see it the other way around. I think like if you like for me, for instance, like I have a job, like I have to support my family, but my goal is I would like to learn Torah the whole day. That would be my goal. So in order to be able to reach that goal, I would accept a stipend so that I don't need to worry about my parnassa. But then it's not that I'm doing it for the stipend because
So these are the sort of exceptions which, again, the Rama, I don't know if he's a Das Yachid, but he's definitely in the minority opinion here. But it's because we're learning Rama Hashkafically, it's useful to bring in the halacha and just see how it all goes together. But so this is what he's really bringing in. To him, the real problem of lo lishmah is not just a matter of you're doing something for the wrong reason. It's you're setting up Torah mitzvot as something which is a secondary goal. The real goal is kavod, it's money, it's the position, it's the candy, it's whatever the story is. And Torah mitzvot are a tool to get me there. That's how he's building this all up. And now you're saying, well, what is the actual lishmah? The real purpose, the real intention of learning should be to know Chachma. Connection to Chachma, connection to God, the source of Chachma, that is the ultimate thing we can have in this world. Being attached to truth. God is truth, His Torah is truth. He's got all the Chachma of the world is built into that. What could be greater than just being engaged in that? That is the ultimate thing that's the ultimate thing I could ever want. That's actual lishmah. But also, if we could move over 1 second, did I bring the Mishnah Torah? We look at. I think we brought this one doing my other shiur on the Rambam and the Riva. But if you see the last chapter, did I mention this last week? I don't remember now.
Not sure.
The last chapter of Hilchos Teshuvah, he goes through this in more expanded level about what the ultimate level we should be going towards. Hilchos Teshuvah isn't just how to repent for your sins; it's how to become the ultimate person I could be. And he goes into the idea of lishmah, lo lishmah, and he says the same thing here. Ein ro'el avodas Hashem al derech zeh, of wanting to get reward and avoid punishments, but rather we should be looking to ein avodas Hashem al derech zeh ela la'ava. You should be looking to serve God through love, not for what I can get out of it. And he says Avram Avinu is the one that's called Avram Avoi because he actually wants to serve God not for any other motive, just because he loves the truth and he wants to be connected to and engaged with the truth. And at the end, right at the end of Hilchos Teshuvah, the last halacha in Hilchos Teshuvah, he says, well, the way to actually achieve this truth and achieve this love of truth is by engaging in truth and by studying. And the more you study, the more you think of God, the more you study and you appreciate the brilliance of God's Torah, the more you realize that it dwarfs any other worldly pleasure, and that brings you towards lishmah. So it's a bit, as we're going to see, it's a little bit circular. Because how do you get to appreciate what Torah is and to reach level of lishmah? By studying Torah and by doing the mitzvot. By doing them in the right way, you connect to the spiritual source and into the source of MS, and you get such an attachment that's all you want. But you have to first have engaged lo lishmah in order to get that appreciation and eventually move towards lishmah. That's going to be where we're going to head to now. but just engaging with Torah mitzvot for the sake of reward and punishment, that he says it is forbidden for a perfect person, means someone who has got some kind of inkling, some sort of developed understanding of what the greatness of Torah mitzvot are. It's also for him to say, when I perform these mitzvot, which are the things which bring me the right sort of midot, which connect me to God. When I move away from the averot, they are the negative, evil character traits which push me away from God. It is forbidden. It's a mockery to say, when I learn Torah, when I do the mitzvot, or what reward do I get from it? Because that's the same thing as using the Torah as a spade to dig. So in the same way as one doesn't use the Torah as a spade to dig with, which we said means have any ulterior motive and any other goal one wants to achieve through the Torah. Why? Because not just because one shouldn't benefit from Torah mitzvahs, but because by using the Torah as a way of achieving something else, you're already saying that something else is greater than Torah. Torah is the tool that I use just to achieve something else. So too, it is asur for Adam HaShalem. It is completely forbidden for the perfect person to ever say, "Well, if I do the Torah mitzvot, what reward do I get from that?" Because the Torah mitzvot itself is a rule. As we say, when we say skar mitzvah, skar avera, as the Rambam is going to teach, is literal. It's not I'm going to get, I mean, you maybe as well, I get another mitzvah for it, but the mitzvah itself, when I do a mitzvah, when I learn Torah, I am connecting to the source of truth. I'm understanding truth. I'm becoming a better, more refined person. What does it mean to say, what reward do I get from that? As we said, what do we get? What do we become by doing Torah mitzvah properly? It's supposed to refine us. We're born as we have the animal side of us. We have the neshama, and by engaging in Torah mitzvahs, we are supposed to be refining ourselves morally, intellectually, spiritually, and our tzelem elokim, our godly soul, is connecting up to the source. With it, Rambam talks about in other places. The shefa comes down. Engaging in Torah mitzvah itself is the greatest thing we could ever do. And by saying, well, if I engage in Torah mitzvah, what reward do I get? You're basically saying, well, what am I able to do? What's greater reward can I get in Torah mitzvah that I achieve by doing Torah mitzvah? So he's now turned this round on the 4 or 5 different groups we had at the beginning. By saying, well, what's the ultimate reward and punishment that we get for Torah mitzvahs? It's having a big house. It's all the food that I want. What he's really saying is all these people who are imagining these physical rewards and saying, well, that is the motive that should be. That is the reward that I get for doing Torah mitzvahs. He's really saying that's all lishmah. They're all taking the Torah mitzvah, this amazing thing which connects us spiritually to God, which refines us, which makes us a different sort of person, and all of that is good because I get lots of food at the end of that. It's crazy. It's the whole. These people don't realize, they don't understand, because they've never achieved this level of lishmah. What they're essentially doing is they're taking the Torah mitzvot and they're using it as a spade to achieve a big house and great food and other physical rewards in the afterlife.
Why then do we have a Rambam in the first place? Maybe we should not get any reward if that's not even if that's not the ultimate purpose. Right? Why should we?
So he hasn't yet said what Olam Haba is. What he's been saying so far is why he's trying to show why all these other people who are thinking of Olam Haba in very physical terms are clearly misguided. Because once you understand, just forget Olam Haba, but once you understand the greatness of Torah mitzvahs, that they create this real spiritual connection, intellectual, moral refinement, and you're just a different person. You're plugged into the spiritual sources, connected to God. And that's so much greater than anything in this world. And you think that your reward for doing that is getting a steak growing on a tree every day, and it's crazy. It's taking the ultimate spiritual pleasure, which is greater than anything, and saying that's great, good, because it's going to give me a little bit of food. It doesn't make any sense. That's really
Isn't spiritual reward in it also a reward? Like, isn't it, if you're doing it for spiritual reward, isn't it also doing it for also?
that's the next stage. Yes, that's something where it gets a little bit difficult. But you're right. So, but so far he's just turning it against these 4 or 5 groups who are taking the Gadas very literally and saying the ultimate afterlife, the ultimate reward in Judaism is physical pleasure, and he's saying that cannot be. So all these people that the 5 groups you brought at the beginning, he's just showing why they are misguided. And their problem is that they're like that kid in the cheder who's just been given the sweet, and for them Torah mitzvah is a means for achieving a physical pleasure, a physical goal, and that cannot be. That cannot be what the Torah holds out as its ultimate reward for us. Right.
So it seems like that I should just make the bracha, but I can't do that. So it's like a little bit of the
What do you mean?
that's a great bracha. That's a great bracha.
I mean,
You end up getting
so if you look at Hilchos Deus, the Rambam goes through all of this, and he talks about how ultimately, as an ideal, a person, all physical things in this world should be channeled upwards. Even before you go to sleep at night, you stop and you think, and this is partly what all the tefillos are before we go to bed, all of that. We stop and we think, even for a few seconds, I'm going to sleep tonight, so I have energy to be an Avodah Hashem tomorrow. I can daven, I can tefillah, I can do chesed, and then says the Rambam, the 6, 7, 8 hours sleep apparently some people get uninterrupted. That sleep I'm going to get, that is now I'm being Avodah Hashem in that time. That 6 hours sleeping is a form of Avodah Hashem. Whereas the same sleeping without any thoughts of I'm just going to sleep so I can get up and work tomorrow, that is 6 hours I'm not worshipping Hashem. So then, the purpose of a bracha before you eat an apple is to stop and think, I'm going to have this apple, great. I need to have sustenance. Why am I doing it? Connect up to God. I got this from God. God created all these things in this world. And this act of physical eating isn't just an act of physical eating, it's a way of sustaining my soul to worship God. And he goes through all engagements in the physical world, ultimately should be that. And that's, again, this is a level which you, obviously, this isn't not to 100 in a moment. It's something you build up through your life. In the Moreh Nevuchim, the Rambam talks about how that's the purpose of fixed times of tefillahs and Kriyas HaTorah, because ultimately a person, what's the ultimate goal of a person? To be plugged into the divine source constantly. Your mind should always be focused on God. But that's the level of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Nevi'im and the others. That's something which most people don't achieve. But what can we achieve? We stop 3 times a day, and what is it? What is a tefillah? Rambam tells you, both in his halachas and in his hashkafic works, you stop, you empty out your mind of everything, and you stop when you think, I'm standing in front of God, I'm talking to God. And even if you just do that for a few seconds, a few times a day, you've now got that pure connection several times a day. Then you've got the first bit of Shema, you've got a bit of time, and you're supposed to gradually build this up through your day, and more of your life, both physical things and mitzvot, are plugging you in and connecting you. Yeah, I've gone off topic here, but again, but in terms of the apple, really what we're saying is that all these things we do over physical actions are there to guide our mind upwards, and that's it. So getting back to lishmah and lo lishmah. So really what we're saying is that Rambam's really mocking these people who think of Olam Haba solely in physical terms. Because he's saying that doing the Torah mitzvahs, it's the ultimate MS and Chokhmah, and we're getting this spiritual and moral, intellectual refinement of Torah mitzvahs. We're connected, our neshama is connected up to Hashem, we're getting the Shefa, and why are we doing this? Oh, so in the world to come, I can sit there and my bread will grow on trees and I'll have a big house, and it's a nonsense. Once you're a person who appreciates what lishmah is, what the true value of Torah mitzvahs are, again, you're not interested in the physical pleasure. They are the means. They are the kardom lachbar. They are the spade they use to dig to achieve spiritual greatness. And now it's turning on its head and saying these people are asking, well, if I do Torah mitzvot, what physical rewards do I get for that? That's it doesn't make any sense. So where does that take us to? Right, Shelo Yistim Ha'adam Tachas Avodas Hashem Yisbarach V'Asiyas HaMitzvah V'Shvil Dor Min HaDavarim. For who must Omar? We get into a controversial Mishnah here. Who must Omar Ish HaSholem Hamasig Amitas Enyonim Antigonus Ish Socha. Antigonus was one of the earlier Mishnahs in Perek Avos. He tells us Al Tiyu Kavodim Hamisham Shemis Harav Almanas L'Kabel Prast. We should not be in our Avodas Hashem. We should not be serving God like a servant who's just there to try and be thrown a bit of money, a bit of food. The better I work, the more physical things I get. That shouldn't be our mindset. Ella, heyu kavadim hamshamshim esarav al manas shelo lekabel pras. Anyone notice anything here, by the way? It's not the Giras we have in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah that we have is, I'm pretty sure, shelo al manas lekabel pras. We should serve God not on condition for receiving reward. Meaning we shouldn't be doing it thinking, I'm doing it because I'm getting a reward. Whereas the Rambam's Girsa, I think some other Rishonim have it, it's even more extreme. We should be serving God on condition not to receive reward. Which is, again, if you look at the Mefarshim of the others, there's plenty of material on this. But like in many things, he's got, again, it's the Girsa he had. It's
Right, so it's specifically that you intend to be enough to get the reward.
Right, which is
I don't want
difficult.
Wow, that's high level.
Because the fact that I'm serving God or serving the Master is itself the reward, and anything else that I'm receiving is just taking away from that. I don't want you to.
I don't want you to, or I don't want to be. I don't think they were saying that. It's more saying I don't want to be that person that you might think I want.
Interesting. I mean, he wants to host you on condition that, or not on condition that you bring something.
That's the bell that rang when you were reading this.
Right. It's connected. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar sort of idea. So what is the motive? If someone sort of throws you, say, why are you putting on tefillin right now? And therefore, or no therefore? That's it. Interesting. Okay, so the Rambam would develop that a bit more, that the act of putting on tefillin is, I mean, maybe not understanding how it is, but it's creating some sort of connection. It's improving, it's refining me. Then here, that's not the. I mean, you're not saying it's exclusive. It's not exclusively because you're Jewish, but that's the starting point. Yeah. So you're better than some of the 5 categories we had at the beginning. So yeah, so the version that was most commonly found on the Mishnah is shalom l'kabel pras. We should be doing the Torah mitzvot not on condition, not because I want to get olam haba, not because I want to get some sort of rewards, but just because it's emes, because it's making me connected to the truth. The Rambam's Giras is a bit more extreme, but people couldn't handle it, as we're going to see. 1 second, did he talk about it here or no? The Rambam talks about it in his Pirish Mishnah. I think it's somewhere else also that the students of Antigonus just couldn't handle this. because people can't. They thought he was saying there is no olam haba, there is no reward and punishment, and that led to the Baitusim and the Sidot, the Sadducees. Again, how much is historically been found out of? But again, the idea is there that Rambam is saying that most people, you can't just throw people in the deep end of the lishmah. All you're doing is lishmah and do everything because it's good, and you have to appreciate the goodness of it because people aren't there yet, and you have to have the sensitivity and the maturity to be able to deal with each person on their level. And I can still be able to answer each fool according to his foolishness, as he quotes it from Mishnah. So you can't just throw people in the deep end and say, what do you do? You don't need a reward. You have to be able to. It's the kid that comes into school. You have to be able to bribe him. He has to, because he's not yet on the level of maturity and spiritual connection to appreciate the true goodness of the Torah. So therefore, you have to be able to deal with people on that level and not just throw everyone into the Antigonus level and say, "What are you doing?" Just do it for the goodness of the mitzvah. It's the connection itself, which is that's really the idea of it.
If like I heard once like somebody who is a rabbi who was just standing at the kotel, like he always wants to help people to go into Tefillin, and in general he wants to inspire people to do mitzvot and etc. So he always asks people a question like when they do a mitzvah, like, do you know what happens when you do this mitzvah? They come in people come in all kind of engines, like, yeah, well, this and that. But then he says like, but when you do a mitzvah, you become holy. It's like, whoa, what do you mean? And it's not good because he's saying if you read the pasuk, the bracha that you're saying, Asher Kiddeshanu, Mitzvotav, V'Tzivanu, and then it's like, who made us holy with his commandments? By doing the commandments, you become holy. So if that's your kavanah, right? That you want that you're doing this mitzvah in order to become holy. Like, would that still fit into the category of the Rambam saying like lishmah?
Good question. I'm not sure. We'll discuss it. I actually don't know exactly how to define it, so we'll see if we can work it together. It probably might be next week by the time we get to it.
Okay.
Because he's going to say even olam haba, you're not supposed to even true spiritual. I'm not doing it because I want to be a more spiritual person. I'm doing it because it's truth. Because it's so. What exactly does that mean? What exactly are you supposed to say? What exactly you're not supposed to say? That we're going to develop. I'm not sure.
No, that's maybe like why he says V'Tzivanu, maybe after the Bachar. Like, Asher Kiddeshanu stuff. V'Tzivanu, I mean, like, and commanded it. So that means like that you're doing it. Okay, we become holy by doing the mitzvah, but we're doing it then V'Tzivanu because Hashem commanded us. Like just because Hashem wants
You have to have both. You have to have the what's it called? The chesed and the din, the great inspiration and love to want to do it, and also that discipline you have to do it. It's you have to have both. Sorry. What is sorry? What is? So there are whole sets of blessings and curses in the Torah, and all these things. So he's going to get to that, like what the role is, because they definitely are. There's a role for them, but he's going to say that they are not the ultimate reward and punishment. They are to facilitate. He's going to say that if you individually or as a nation follow the Torah, then Hashem will bring you these blessings. And what will those blessings be? The ability to fully fulfill the Torah and therefore maximize your potential. For example, right now, about half of the Torah we can't keep. I don't know. All the ones through the Beit Hamikdash and the Karbonos and a lot of things with the Kohanim. There's so many things we just can't keep. Tumah Torah, we're only keeping about half the Torah, really. We're not able to reach a level of Nevuah. There's so many things where we are living really in this era a watered down version of Judaism. And what the brachas and kolos on the Torah is that when you as a I guess how much is individuals and how much is to the klal, that can be discussed. When you as a nation unite and make Torah your goal, I will then arrange it that you as a whole can fulfill the Torah completely, and you can reach the level of Nevuah. That's the end of Mishnah Torah. The real reason we long for the Yemata Mashiach is, he quotes all the Nevi'im, that will be that the knowledge of God will cover the world like water covers a seabed, and our sons and daughters will prophesy, and that's the ultimate thing we could ever want. It's being Nevi'im, having that level of connection to God is the ultimate level that a human can ever aspire to. That is what Yom Mashiach is all about. So the brachos and clause in the Torah are really all about that. If you as a whole move towards God, then your society will be more likely, more able to achieve. You'll be given food and in abundance. You don't have to spend all day working. You'll be able to spend more time learning and studying, and as a society, you'll be more moved towards that. So I think that's what he's going to say about the blessing and curse of the Torah. But the Shuach again is interesting because that's an individual mitzvah, which is I assume he deals with that in the same way. That it's by doing Shuach again, by kibbutz, that sort of thing, you'll get the long life, whatever exactly that means. Also, that's discussed to be able to achieve more mitzvot.
What about there's also one verse that even says you can test him, like it's like aser, taser, I think it doesn't say explicitly, but I think the Chachamim, they say that Hashem is saying, like, if you can test me, that if you give tzedakah, like you'll become better from it. Like it's like you gain by doing that. Like, and that's the only one where Hashem say, like, no, test me. Like basically saying you can do it in order to
that's
see
also
that
this discussion of exactly how that works, what it means to be rich. Because in Perek he says, well, rich means samech v'chelka.
Right.
And the Rambam takes that very seriously, by the way.
Right.
He says, well, you'll be, if you do this, you'll be rich. Well, what true wealth is, you see people sometimes sitting out there, they don't have very much, look completely satisfied and happy. Nothing makes them upset because they have learnt the true place of worldly pleasures and worldly things, and they're just not particularly bothered by. So that's the Rambam is very much that's real shiur, that's real wealth, to be able to transcend. Well, it doesn't. It means that you'll have your physical needs as well. But as long as you're chasing more, you're never really wealthy. But again, some people take that as a nice sort of Muslim idea of the Rambam. That's literal. Real wealth is when you're not chasing something more than you have. And you see these. I always think of these Asian holy men when they're sitting out there, they don't have very much, they're meditating, they're completely at peace with the world. So again, there's a Avodah Zarah and everything involved in that, but the idea that they don't need anything more, they're completely happy with what they have. It's a genuine inner happiness. That's something which I think we can find. So Antigonus caused a bit of a stir, but once you're able to reach that level where you're prepared to worship God, not for the sake of the rewards, but because that worship itself is the good, that is called Oved Ma'ava, someone who serves God out of love, and that is the level of Avram Avinu, as he says over here in Mishnah Torah, Avram Avai. So he's quoting a Chazal that about the great person who doesn't want the mitzvah, who wants the mitzvahs themselves, not the schar of the mitzvahs. There's a very great Ma'amar Chazal that teaches us. So it contained in that Agada is everything we've said so far, really. That you should desire the mitzvahs and not the schar of the mitzvahs, not the reward for the mitzvahs. And now we get to Olam Haba itself, which is the difficult one. Godel Mizah, Mashor V'Sifrei, he's quoting here from the Sifrei and Parshas Eikev. Shema Tomer, lest you say, Harini Lamed Torah, B'shvil She'ei Asher, I will learn Torah so that I'll become rich. B'shvil She'ei Karei Rav, so I'll be called a great rabbi, I'll get the honor. B'shvil She'kabel Schar B'Olam Haba, I'm going to read now because I want to be rewarded in the next world. So I'm not sure exactly what it means here, what this person's thinking Olam Haba is. Talmud Loima La'avayis Hashem Elokecha in the Shema. You do the mitzvot La'avayis Hashem Elokecha out of love for God. Kol she'atem osim lo tasu ela me'ava. all the Torah mitzvot that you do should only be for love, meaning with the avodah itself, because that avodah plugs you into this pure source of chachma and spirituality and goodness. The question then we have is, what's the difference between that and saying you want to look for Olam above? So I'm never quite sure exactly what the division line is. You want to be connected to this great truth and wisdom, but you're not doing it on condition that you want to get some sort of reward out of it. So it's a bit of a thin line here. That is that as well. I mean, it is, but that's not the ultimate reward for the Rambam. That's an additional. That's facilitating you achieve, because by making the world a better place, you are now able to, as an individual and as a community, be able to be in a society where you can perfect yourself to really to connect to God. So it does both. The Torah tells us both as individuals and as communities how to build the ultimate society to connect to Hashem. That's really what Rambam focuses on a lot. Let's finish this paragraph. In this matter has now become clear. This is the intent of the Torah, and it's the fundamental intention of the Chachamim. So he's basically insulting all the people that came before who were setting their idea of Olam Haba with these physical rewards. And this level of Ava, this is the level of Rabbeinu. He served God solely out of love. So this is what we should be motivated for. Should we squash in one more paragraph, or should we leave this for next week? There's one more.
6 minutes left.
Sure. Okay, fine. So we'll do another paragraph, and then we'll leave it for then get into the Midrashim.
Okay.
So as we discussed, actually serving God solely for the pure motive of doing what is right and true and wise, that is an incredibly difficult level to achieve. Not most people don't achieve this. Even for people who do, Avram Avinu, who do achieve this certain part of his life, he spent many years he was battling away, not achieving this. So this is not something which people can achieve very easily. It's a lifetime's work, really, to battle away on your motives. The natural state of human nature is only to do something if there's a tangible reward, tangible result in it. Or to avoid some kind of tangible loss. But most people out there, if they don't see some tangible benefits or tangible loss from what they're doing, they're not going to be interested. It's hevel v'rik, it's empty. So how can you say to even a Baal Torah, someone who's involved with Torah, and you should be doing all these mitzvahs and avoiding these averas. Not the motive shouldn't be avoiding some sort of divine lightning bolt going to strike you down, or plague of pestilence, whatever it is. And not because you're hoping for abundant crop in your field or a big share dividend. It's very, very hard for the majority of people, at least at the beginning of their lives, even adult lives, to be able to really take this on board. If you actually you come out from Avinu, people need to be an Avram Avinu or a regret or a chacham in order to really understand and appreciate what truth and the true value of the Torah is. Therefore, since we have this almost circular thing that really it's maguna, it's despicable to engage in Torah if it's not for the right motive. But you don't get the right motive until you become Avram Avinu, and I've been learning Torah, now I realize how great it is. So it's circular. In order to get on the ladder, you need to first do lishmah. Lachain, therefore, hitiru lehomen, they permitted the masses, in order for them to get some kind of correct belief system. They permitted the Chachamim permitted as a b'diavad, as the non-preferable way of doing things, to do the mitzvahs out of hope they're going to get a physical, tangible reward. After that sort of motive, and to be motivated to avoid averas in order not to get struck down. And Chazal will even go as far as to make joshes and to push people in this direction, because they know that for the majority of people out there, that is how they even get onto the scale of Torah mitzvot. Until hopefully by doing the mitzvot and Torah and then realizing, yeah, I've been putting on tefillin a bit of time. I'm beginning to realize what a great thing it is. I'm beginning to understand what it means to put on tefillin. I'm learning the sodas behind the mitzvahs. And now, after a few years of doing it, I'm not interested in the reward I'm going to get for it. This is connecting me. This is real. This is something worthwhile. But you have to first be doing it. I think there's a Hasidus out there also that you have to be involved in the mitzvahs, and that changes you, and then you can appreciate the goodness of it. So you have to first get on that step of lishmah. Otherwise, you're never going to get lishmah. You're never going to get anywhere. Whereas he goes back to his moshel again. And the Chachamim were critical of Antigonus for his Mishnah. Because he let the cat out of the bag. He told the Haman that he told the masses that what you should really be doing is trying to serve God, shalom and ostakabah for us. And that they weren't on a level, they weren't ready to hear that sort of thing. That turned them off. And therefore the later Mishnah which says Chachamim, he's the horror of Devrechem. Chachamim, you've got to be careful with your words. It's like in the same way there's certain ideas of Sod and certain esoteric teachings of Judaism which are pure and holy, but you can't just throw them out there and teach anyone on the streets because it will do them damage. Masamor Kava, you teach the one, certain things, if you teach people before they're ready, not only will they not learn from it, but it'll damage them. So too, the Rambam's understanding this subsequent Mishnah in Avos, Chachamim Hinsahu B'Devreichem, which comes a few Mishnahs later, was a hidden criticism of Antigonus that you should not have taught this Mishnah in the open, that you should really be serving God solely for the motive of doing what's right and not for any schar and onesh. Antigonus taught this as a Mishnah which got published to the nation. Mishnah has got published to everyone. He should be teaching this to his great Talmidim individually, who are already on the level of to start moving towards the lishmah. It shouldn't have been taught to the masses. I think it's the criticism. Mishnayos, as in interest, I hear.
So then Antigonus did the right thing.
I hear what you're saying, but again, the understanding is that it was taught more broadly than it should have been, as opposed to, let's say, certain esoteric teachings, which you very carefully teach them to. Mishnayos were recited by. I mean, you had the Tanaim used to go around reciting Mishnayos. I think they were known a little bit more. People who do mitzvahs out of the improper motive don't actually lose out from it. They're just not perfect, meaning it's not a negative thing. As long as you're actually not doing it for a negative reason, you're getting on the ladder of lishmah to slowly move up. This is good for them until they get more practiced in performing Torah. And with that, and from performing things like lishmah, and specifically Torah lishmah, they'll be woken up. They'll get woken up to appreciate the great truth, and they will eventually become. They'll be chozer la'ava. He says chozer la'ava. They'll become able to serve God out of true love. This is the meaning of the great teaching of our sages. You should even if you involved in Torah lo lishmah, from being involved in lo lishmah, you get to achieve the level of the lishmah. And that is his criticism of these other groups who are setting the lishmah as the ultimate goal of Judaism. He's saying they're completely misguided. This is the first section. No, it was my language. Yeah. He used other similar terms. I see. It's tantamount to ideas of. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Sorry, say that again. Suddenly. So in the Moran of Okim, he goes into it. He breaks it down much more. He says that finally got all the tefillah. If you don't have any kavanah at all, then you're just doing nothing. At least concentrate the first line of Shema, the first bracha of the Shema Esrei, and build it up. Meaning, he's saying you always got to have some level. You got to stop just for a moment and think of God, and then that from having that little the beachhead, you build it up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But if you don't have any connection with God through David, the Rambam's understanding, there's not even a maaseh tefillah. Tefillah for the right. If you look at Mishnah Torah also, tefillah isn't just saying the words. The action of the maaseh tefillah is the words accompanied by some kind of awareness of something before God. There's a Rav Chaim Soloveitchik who brings this out also in one of the Rambam's teachings on other sorts. It's actually the action of tefillah is partly mental, it's partly intellectual. Have a good evening. See you all again next week.